Hello and welcome to The Big Fight. And yes, we are discussing cash once again today, but this time with a month having gone after demonetization, well more than a month right now, it is time for us to step back a little bit to look at some of the parameters that will decide whether this has been a really successful move or a failure. And I'm not just talking about it in terms of short-term disruption and chaos and crisis. All of those obviously are there, and there will be a certain amount of short-term pain. But in the long term, is this going to be seen as a step that has had a beneficial or a negative impact? And the answer to that, you will recall 2-3 weeks ago, right here on The Big Fight, we said could be answered on the back of 6 special questions. The answers of those 6 questions would determine whether this is going to be a success or a failure. And I'm going to restate those 6 questions, and we've again got a panel of experts with widely divergent views till now. I'm going to be getting them to weigh in specifically on these 6 questions and then other aspects as well. So before I come to the 6 questions, let me just introduce the panelists, and all very carefully handpicked, if I may say. So Arvind Gupta, of course, of the BJP. Also important to get him because the government seems to be shifting its tack a little bit from saying it's about terrorism and counterfeit money and black money, which is essentially where the government started off. Now it's all about the digital future and how we must have a cashless economy. Now, is that a shifting of goalposts, or is it a good thing to do in any case? So Arvind, that's what you're going to weigh in on. Professor Arun Kumar from JNU's, probably one of the country's top experts on black money. So we're going to be getting you, sir, to tell us whether this is a decisive strike against black money or not, also on future generation of black money. So wonderful to have you with us. Pradeep Chaudhary is a former chairman of the State Bank of India. So who better to tell us exactly what's happening in the banking system, where all of these notes are, and also, if I might, the question that all of us have is, how come none of us can never find money when we are standing on queues, but somehow all the crooks and all the thugs in the country can be found with, vast sums of money? So that's one of the questions that we are going to try and get you to interpret for us. Professor Rakesh Sinha, close association with the RSS, has been steadfastly defending this decision on TV channels for the last 1 month. Must be somewhat exhausted by now, but it's great to have you back with us to give some additional support to Arvind out there. Max Rundberg is the South Asia Bureau Chief of The Economist, a publication that has come out really strongly attacking all that's happened with demonetization. I think your view is, The Economist's view is that it's been a bit of a disaster. So we'll get you to explain why that's the case. Mohandas Pai joining us as well, somebody who can perhaps speak from industry. Mohandas Pai, somebody felt that this was a good idea and it's a big step. And Mohandas Pai, presumably you still feel that way, right?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, okay, you do. Fine, great. Just making sure you haven't changed your mind in this 1 month. And Devinder Sharma, food policy analyst, expert in rural India, will help us also interpret what's happening in the hinterland. Remember, it's one thing to sit in cities and saying this is what the impact of demonetization is. Many people in cities have cards and can use these new digital methods. Not quite that simple sometimes in rural India. So here are our experts, and they are going to be weighing in on this. Now, let me come to those 6 questions. I'm listing them all up front, and then I'll go over them one by one. And I'll tell you why these are important. Let's look at the 6 questions. Question number 1. Is demonetization going to lead to a windfall gain for the government? Now remember, there are 15.4 lakh crores of old notes. These are the notes that were banned. The question that I had asked 3 weeks ago was, how many of those notes are going to be deposited back in the system by the end of December? If that gap had been 5 lakh crores or 6 lakh crores or some figure like that, it means that a lot of black money has been extinguished. There's a windfall gain for the RBI or for the government, and that could come back to people, that could be used for infrastructure, that could be used for various ways. Now, a certain numbers already out there, and we will look at it. Question number 2, what is going to happen to the banks? Are the banks suddenly going to get a lot of additional deposits which they can use? Will interest rates come down, and so on and so forth? Question number 3, somewhat linked to the first question, is there going to be a budget bonanza? It would have happened if there had been a lot of undeclared money. The RBI gets a windfall gain, gives it as a dividend to the government. May still happen if a lot of that money that is out there is declared under the amnesty scheme, because then the government gets a tax bonanza and can pass it on to all of us when the budget comes. So is there going to be a budget bonanza? That's question number 3. Question number 4, will the existing stock of black money be wiped out, or is it going to get laundered in some way or the other? That's question number 4. Question number 5, somewhat linked, what will happen to the future generation of black money? Is that being significantly impacted, or is it a one-time surgical strike on black money, but in the future, chalta rahega, corruption will continue, black money will continue? And finally, question number 6, how long will this disruption continue? And after all this time, it's been 37, 38 days, there still looks as if there is disruption, and it's an open-ended question as to how long it will continue. Right, 6 questions. Let me get each of you to weigh in on each of them, and then we'll come to the overall questions of demonetization after that. Actually, before I do that, let me just get a quick one line from each of you as to how you think this entire exercise is going so far. Arvind?
It's going as per plan, probably.
Really? You were planning everything which has happened so far, or is it a bit like making it up also as you go along?
The first deadline is 50 days. It's still not over. And I think there could have been a lot of things in hindsight which could have been done better. But that's hindsight. And we can keep debating that always. But if you see, the government has innovated, has come out with the relief measures where required. And the best measures are being taken. I think 50 days are still not over. And there is a lot of things that what we hear are in the pipeline. In fact, a new scheme has been announced, which is the Garib Yojana, Kalyan Yojana, and there are things that are happening. So
that's the tax amnesty scheme,
yeah,
right?
So what I'm saying is there's a lot of.
Okay, so going well, you're saying. So let me just get a one-line take from all of you, and then we'll come
to but there are pains. I am not denying that. I will never deny that there are pains. Any disruption comes with a pain, and there are a lot of things we can say in hindsight, but. We don't have the pleasure of hindsight right now.
Sir, your view?
So if you remove from somebody's body 86% of the blood, okay, and replace it by 5% a week, that body is going to collapse. So cash is like that. Cash is circulating the economy. If you withdraw such a large percentage of the cash, then the economy collapses immediately. And what needs to be understood is that this takes care of only 1% of the black wealth, but not the process of generating black income. So for instance, what happens is you first earn an income out of which you make savings. The savings are invested, that becomes your wealth. And of the wealth, you hold only a tiny percent, 1% as cash. So my estimate is that currently black income generation is 93 lakh crores. So the black wealth would be roughly 3 to 400 lakh crores. And you would have 3 lakh crores as cash.
So not the impact on black money that
not the black economy and not the black money. And therefore, it's creating a problem for the white economy, which is collapsing and not able to solve the problem of black economy.
Okay, Mohandas Pai, your quick take on the overall question of how it's going 1 month later.
Well, Vikram, my view is the pain is much more than what has been factored in. Everybody underestimated the pain. And the pain for people who are poorer is much more because nobody realized that they probably were depending upon 500,000 rupee notes or whatever. So I think it's extremely painful. Industries too has suffered much more than anybody anticipated. I just want to join issue with the gentleman who spoke before me. The GDP this year is 1 crore 50 lakh crore, and if you believe that 93 lakh crores is the cash, black money cash generated every year, I think it's ridiculous. I don't accept that. And if you say that 400 lakh crore is the black money wealth that is there, I don't see any basis for that too. I think we must be careful when we bandy these big numbers. Is like the $2 trillion available outside India in black money from India is a ridiculous figure.
It's not the $2 trillion outside the economy that we're talking about. Of the black income that's generated every year, only 10% goes abroad. 90% remains here. So bulk of the black wealth of roughly my estimate of 300 lakh crores is here. And out of this 300 lakh crores, cash is 3 lakh crores because you hold your black property in a wide variety of ways, whether it be real estate, etc., etc.
Basically, Mohandas Pai, his point was that this is not the decisive strike on black money that we may have hoped for.
He said annual generation is 93 lakh crores. That is the problem.
It is that high.
It's not so high. It will be visible. 93 lakh crores is a lot of money.
If you look at my EPW article of November 27th, you'll understand why it's that high.
Okay, we leave that. We leave that.
Because the GDP is only 1 lakh 50 lakh crores.
No, it's 150 lakh crores. Sorry, it's not 1 lakh 50. It's 150 lakh crores.
It cannot be 60%.
So it's 62% of 150 lakh crores, which comes to 93 lakh crores.
Okay, we can debate this slightly
offline. Yes, it cannot be. We are in business. We know what the figures could be.
Okay, we can can debate
But
this
you haven't done
offline
an
somewhere.
estimate of the total. You may know your own business, how much you generate, but you don't know what the total of the
No, we don't
economy
do
is.
black money transactions at all.
No,
but we know
I'm not
what's happening
assuming
in the
that.
economy.
I'm not saying you are doing it, but I'm saying you
Okay,
may estimate for one.
I do want to point out, I mean, there is a cash part to black money, but people are forgetting there is also a Benami Property and Transactions Act that has been passed, which is a very critical component
All
to
right,
this.
fine. Let me just come and get everyone else's take on this. Like your take on how it's gone.
The people who have regular salaries or regular jobs or regular pension income, they are somehow getting by, maybe restricting. But the people who are daily wage earners or have to depend on daily this thing, they are very badly hit, and particularly the agriculture sowing. Because if you don't sow now, you lose the entire crop.
Okay. Actually, I guess the flip side, the other way of looking at that though is, if you're looking at it from the point of view of electoral gains, actually the BJP has been winning a large number of elections. So there seems to be some popular support.
I think demonetization should not be seen in isolation. It is a part of a larger scheme of the government. This larger scheme has three components. One is a reform in economy. That reform is a hyper correction in neoliberalism, which generates black money, which generates hoarders. There is a message from the state that there is a state, not only the corporate house, not only the private entrepreneurs who are holding the reins of the economy. Second message of the...
So you're saying the big message is that there's a big boss standing somewhere with a lathi, and that's an important message to say.
It is for egalitarian society. So the government is bringing out many schemes which are pro-poor and friendly to the common people. A third message is from this, that this would ultimately lead to the source of the black money.
That is something which we will not debate as to whether that's happened or not. Max, your take, because the economist really feels that this has been a pretty bad step.
I'm afraid so. I mean, I think when you go back to when the decision was made, I mean, it has two sides. It's got an economic side and a political side. And on the economic side, when a decision like this was taken, it's a very, very risky thing to do. And I mean, it was a big risk to be taken.
Politically, though, it seems to be working out, at least as of now. There's no indication that this is hurting the BJP politically as of now. I mean, just a couple of days back, they won another set of civic elections in Maharashtra.
That's right, but those are rather small elections. We have to wait for a bigger election to see what the end result is, and I think we have to wait for more of the actual effects of the demonetization to come into evidence before we really see what elections will do. I mean, I was just going to divide between the economic side and the political side. Economically, extremely risky, and I would say in very brief. It has not been very well executed either. So you took a very risky course and then poorly executed it. That's not so good. On the political side, I think this move was a potentially brilliant move by the party in power. But it now hinges on the actual execution. So we're in a very delicate moment for both politically. I mean, this could end up being a big success, or it could end up being quite disastrous.
Okay, so economically, you're not very sure.
I will add one sentence. I think this is the first Arthik Satyagraha, economic Satyagraha. We have seen the political Satyagraha. People are experiencing pain, but still they are with the government policy of demonetization.
Yes, but there is one aspect which I will add to what Max said, that if right now the people have been by and large supporting it, and by and large, they've been accepting hardship with surprisingly good cheer. And you go to people in the queues and say, yes, it's for a good cause or for a greater cause. All of that, as he said, the risk for the BJP would be, there's a risk that all of that will go south very fast if at the end of the day there's a perception that the fat cats, that the big fish, that the corrupt people did setting, that the corrupt got away, that the people with black money got away, they were able to launder their money, there were scams that took place, there was collusion with bank officers, so the corrupt guys got away and the common person suffered for 50 days. If that eventually happens, that's the risk.
No,
Would you agree with
Bikram,
that?
you just see, the people are getting arrested, cash being seized. This shows the intention of the government.
No, the intention
government intention is to curb corruption, to curb black money, and one should not doubt the government intention.
I'm not questioning the intention. I'm saying that the outcome politically, Max, and I think that's what you were alluding to.
Bikram,
the outcome would depend on how this is finally.
Bikram, if I may add here, he's trying to associate both the political move and an economic move. I purely think it was, the Prime Minister takes a move which is nation first. He never takes I mean, you can't mix politics with this decision. It was an economic decision. It was done.
Okay.
There is a political fallout.
So let's stay on the economics of it. I'm going to get the politics into it a little later. We'll get Derek O'Brien also on from the TMC, who's really the TMC has been leading the charge on this. So we'll come to the politics of it a little later. Let's answer the 6 questions because those are really economic questions. Absolutely. And then we'll come to the politics of it. But before I do that, Devendra, just wanted to get your overall take first of all. 1 month later, what do you think the impact has been in the rural areas among the poorest or the poor? Because even today in this day of 24-hour television, it's not always easy to really gauge what's happening in all corners of the country.
I think it was not only brought in economic slowdown, I think this is a completely economic meltdown. And the government didn't actually know from day one actually what it was attempting. The way they have been, they keep on changing the goalposts, they keep on changing the narratives. It is quite indicative that they were lost as to what they were trying to attempt. And if you want to ask me what is the impact in the rural areas where 70% population lives, I think it has wreaked havoc in the rural areas. Agriculture has been devastated. When I say devastated, it's just a small word because, or a soft word, because we must understand the time when we are talking about doubling the farmer's income in next 5 years, you actually halved the farmer's income in the last 1 month. So I think we need to understand what's happening to agriculture and more to the workers. Workers, if the workers can't even have 2 square meals a day, they are sitting idle waiting for a job. I think it is quite indicative that this was not at all planned very well, and I think the planners didn't even know what they were attempting to.
But if what you are saying is correct, wouldn't we by now have started to see a lot more political backlash? Including, angry people out there protesting, BJP losing elections, even if it's a civic election, the fact that they would still win a civic election if the situation was what you were describing would make you question.
Vikram, let's be very clear, the kind of backlash that you are talking about is not happening, but that does not mean that the things are going very, very normal in those areas. The point I'm trying to make is this is the reality. Not whether the narrative has impacted them that, oh, you are not Rashtra Bhakt if you are not bearing this pain. I think that is beyond my understanding, but that's what perhaps is also one factor.
Okay.
The point I'm trying to make is, you asked me what is the situation in the hinterland. There is a crisis there, a huge crisis.
Okay. So hang on. He's saying that there is a crisis, but there is no backlash, and the no backlash is because people think they're doing it in a good cause, which brings me all the way back to what I started with, that yes, they're putting up with it because it's a good cause, but that support therefore erodes if people get away with it.
Vikram, everybody expected that certain crisis would be generated by the demonetization. I am from the village. I am from a village. I visited so many villages. There is no crisis at all. There is no crisis. There is a cash crunch. We in India have cooperative life. In Hindi we say Sahkari Jeevan. And that saves India all the time. Common people have day-to-day experience of inequality and black money. They are sufferer of that. That's why they are participating in the Arthik Satyagraha.